There was no indication at the west gate that we could not fly today. Had no idea the airport was closed with something going on here.
A mid-air plane collision claims 2 lives in Arizona. Tonight, the concern following recent crashes happening across North America.
I'd like to point out all the recent accidents that we've had were at controlled airports. So.
Good evening on this Wednesday and welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Christina Rendon. Today's tragedy in Arizona is the 5th plane crash to claim lives in the West this year. It happened when 2 small planes collided midair near Marana Regional Airport south of Phoenix. A total of 4 people were on those planes. 2 died, 2 others were not hurt. Fox 10's Lauren Clark spoke with pilots who are familiar with conditions at this airport.
Senator Mark Kelly posting on his X account saying that he uses this airport often. In fact, even used it just a few days ago, and that his office is following the situation very closely. Investigators still out here on scene. Federal investigators going to be joining them tomorrow morning as they figure out exactly what happened. Yellow police tape circle a damaged plane and debris as investigators try to determine the cause of a deadly crash at the Marana Airport runway. Pilot Robert Traylor warmed up his plane before he was told something happened.
But I came out to fly my little airplane. We were going to go up to Payson and have breakfast up there at the airport. And there was no indication at the west gate that we could not fly today. Had no idea the airport was closed.
The crash happened just after 8:30 in the morning. It involved a Cessna 172S and a Lancer 360 Mk2.
Compared to a Lamborghini or a Corvette, a really hot sports car, whereas the Cessna 172, more like a family car.
Pilot and aviation expert Reed Adon says the Cessna 172 is primarily used for training pilots, unlike the Lancer.
It'll cruise at over 200 miles an hour, so there's an example of just the speed differences. The landing speed on the Lancer is much greater than the 172.
The NTSB believes the planes collided while the Cessna was attempting to land. Authorities say the Cessna landed without a problem, but the Lancer burst into flames. 2 people were on both planes. Of the 4, authorities say 2 walked away unharmed, seemingly from the Cessna. Yadon says the airport is an uncontrolled field, meaning it does not have an air traffic control tower. Rather, pilots communicate their positions with each other.
I'd like to point out all the recent accidents that we've had were at controlled airports. So the uncontrolled airports, there's more of them than there are controlled airports. And they're very safe way to fly.
In about a week from now, we're going to be getting a preliminary investigation report, but we won't know the cause of this crash for months, well into about a year and a half. Reporting here at Marana, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
As we mentioned earlier, there have been at least 5 fatal plane crashes in the West this year. The one that claimed the most lives happened February 6th in Alaska. That's when 10 people died in a crash off Alaska's coast. On January 2nd, 2 people died when a small plane crashed into a warehouse in Southern California. That same day, a pilot flying alone died when his small plane crashed in central Nevada. And on January 4th, another pilot flying alone died after his small plane crashed in southwest Wyoming. Across the country, there have been at least 13 fatal plane crashes so far this year. That's about half the number of fatal crashes that happened during the first 2 months of 2024. The family of Casey Crafton, a 40-year-old man who died in last month's plane crash in Washington, D.C., has filed a $250 million legal claim against the FAA and the U.S. Army. A lawyer representing Crafton's widow says public comments made by federal officials about how the crash could have happened are the basis for the legal claims. Federal authorities have pointed to alleged understaffing of air traffic control workers and the Black Hawk helicopter flying high above the allowed limit as potential reasons for why the crash took place. The federal government has 6 months to act before Crafton's family can file a lawsuit. Well, now to major developments in the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. A judge today denied a defense motion to throw out DNA evidence that prosecutors say links Brian Kohberger to the crime scene. Genetic material was found on a knife sheath at the home where the students were stabbed to death in 2022. Investigators used trash collected from Kohberger's family home to match him as a suspect. The defense argued that Kohberger's constitutional rights were violated because his DNA was collected without a warrant. The judge found no expectation of privacy when it comes to evidence collected at a crime scene. An avalanche has claimed the lives of 2 people in Oregon. Investigators say the man and woman from Bend were backcountry skiing in the Cascade Mountains on Monday. They got buried in snow after an avalanche was triggered in the Broken Top area between Bend and Eugene. The official trigger for this avalanche is unknown, but the Central Oregon Avalanche Center says it's likely the skiers triggered it. The center also says heavy snow and breezy conditions are keeping avalanche danger in this area elevated. Well, the West fails to escape a blast of cold air crossing the country today. East of Salt Lake City, people there are being warned to expect snow throughout the night. And in parts of Colorado, record low temperatures dipped to below 0 this morning. Fox's Kennedy Hayes shows us how people are coping with the deep freeze in Denver.
The sun is out, but looks can be deceiving. It's really that wind that's making the cold sting. Forecasters say wind chills have been hovering around 0 degrees all day, and you can really feel that bone-chilling cold as soon as you step outside.
I'm just coming from the gym, and I'm feeling like I made a bad decision not wearing my winter coat. I thought I could just run out in the car and be warm, and now I'm talking to you and like I can't feel my ears.
I like having a hot coffee in the morning. That's been really nice. And then starting my car from my phone before I go outside and get in has been really nice. It's definitely been really hard to get out of bed.
Parts of Denver dipped to -7 degrees Wednesday morning. That's a record low for this specific day, according to the Fox Forecast Center. The Arctic air is descending and spreading across the plains and as far south as the Gulf Coast. About 150 miles northeast of Denver, parts of Nebraska are under extreme cold weather advisories. Those warnings expire midday Thursday. Some schools there were closed or had late starts today. Going slow on the roads and dressing in extra layers and limiting your time outdoors will be key for the rest of the week. Forecasters say even colder temperatures are on their way Thursday, and parts of Colorado could see an additional 6 inches of snow. In Denver, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
Well, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who is tracking those bone-chilling temperatures and some wet weather returning to other parts of the West. Hi, Roberta.
Hi, Christina. The coldest I've ever reported was in Chicago, and we had a wind chill of 50 below 0. It was dangerous, life-threatening cold weather, and that's what's happening for 90 million people across the contiguous United States, anywhere from the U.S. to Canadian border, all the way from Texas to the Mexican border. These areas are experiencing well below 0 weather, especially when you want to factor in the wind chill. You can see the alerts posted there. This is all the snow and the sleet all the way into the panhandle of Florida. Now, current air temperatures right now, it's 18 below 0 in Bismarck. Yeah, below 0. It's 13 below 0 in Rapid City. It is now 13 degrees in Green Bay and 10 degrees in Chicago. Compare that with a balmy 73 degrees in Phoenix. It's 62 degrees in Las Vegas and 50s coming around the state of California. Today, high temperature in Seattle was 52 and the average is 50 degrees. And we're taking a look at the Seattle Great Wheel in Elliott Bay. Under mostly cloudy skies with impending rain, they've been in and out of the rain all day. We had 4/100ths of an inch of rain in San Francisco at 58 degrees when the average high there is 61. And in Los Angeles today, 73 degrees. That you're looking 22 miles offshore at beautiful Catalina Island. How about sunset at 6:17 in Phoenix, 79 when the average high is around 72 degrees. So we're talking more rain entering the Pacific Northwest. This area of low pressure clipped that northwestern corner of the state of California today, but all the action is really to the north. In fact, we do have those winter weather warnings right there around Idaho and Montana because of the frigid conditions. And then it's rain that's prompting some sleet and snow watches and warnings in throughout the Pacific Northwest. So here we go. First area low pressure is out of here. There's a secondary system that's going to the north, taking a vigorous jet stream, bypassing the state of California. So the only western states that will be affected is Washington and Oregon. That looks like plentiful rain showers. And as we Go ahead and add it all up between Thursday and Sunday. Just under 1.5 inches of rain in Seattle, but look at the copious amounts of precipitation in Portland, approaching 1 inch in Eureka in California. Let's go ahead and play out the forecast like this. Rainy to the north in Seattle, beautiful weekend in store for San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and you'll be warming up finally in Colorado for the weekend.
Looks great, Roberta. Thank you. Up next, an early morning operation off the Southern California coast. The boat full of migrants busted by the U.S. Coast Guard and Border Patrol. And rescue from a burning truck with just moments to spare. Tonight, emotions run high for one of the first responders who saved a woman's life.
She clung to me on the side of the road, and I just held her. And I just told her I had her.
Cameras were rolling early this morning when U.S. Coast Guard troops took 20 people into custody off California's coast. Marines and Border Protection workers were patrolling the area from the sky when they spotted a boat near San Diego. When Coast Guard troops moved in, they found 17 men and 3 women on the vessel. The Coast Guard says everyone on the boat claimed they were either Mexican or Chinese nationals. They've been transferred to the custody of Border Patrol workers. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum says drone flights over northwestern Mexico are aimed at tracking down fentanyl labs. The operation, she says, is a collaboration between the U.S. and Mexican governments as part of their ongoing efforts to stop opioids from being smuggled into the U.S. Earlier this month, President Trump threatened and then postponed tariffs on Mexican imports that he said were meant to push Mexico to take stronger action against drug cartels. The Nevada Highway Patrol is using drones to better investigate crash sites. You can see how drones took these images over a crash site in September when 2 semis collided on Highway 95. One of them was carrying wood, the other thousands of pounds of lithium batteries. To avoid all of the toxic fumes at the site, authorities flew a drone a quarter-of-a mile away to take photos and survey the damage.
Is the at-fault vehicle that was driving wrong way. And with these drone photos, you can get a much better look at top-down. This drone footage is able to show you the sheer magnitude of sometimes how fast these vehicles are traveling.
Nevada Highway Patrol says showing these kind of top-down photos to a jury or to the DA has helped them get convictions in recent cases.
Yeah, we're good, we're good. I'm glad you're here, brother. Bro, I was just going to walk. Right here's good, right here's good. All right.
A police officer and an off-duty firefighter are being called heroes tonight. Cameras captured their daring rescue of a woman from a burning truck in Arizona. That truck went up in flames after a cement truck crashed into it in Chandler. Fox 10's Kenzie Beach shows us how first responders saved the driver.
Here, get out of the way, get out of the way.
The thought of a human life perishing by flame, you know, it's just, I was just like, I'm not going to let this happen.
The 60 westbound isn't Officer Brian Larison's typical commute with Chandler PD, but Tuesday morning it was a life-saving decision. In rush hour traffic, a cement truck crashed into this Nissan pickup, rolling it over with the driver trapped inside. The former Marine was the first one there, grabbing his baton. He did everything he could to get the driver's side window to break. Larison fighting time.
You know, my thought was, I'm not going to let her burn up. I was like, I hit it 3 times. I was like, it seemed like it took forever to try to get this window to break. And my thought was, she's not dying.
The car filled with smoke and flames.
I knew as soon as that window broke, oxygen was going to get in there and it was just going to engulf.
But Officer Larison wasn't alone.
Then I looked out of the corner of my eye and there's this off-duty fireman and he's got all his fire retardant gear on. Right place, right time, I guess.
The two pulling the woman out of the burning car, saving her life.
She clung to me on the side of the road and I just held her. And I just told her I had her.
Their first call was to her husband. The woman safely taken to the hospital is expected to make a full recovery. Officer Larison returned to a normal day at work, knowing the outcome could have been a lot different.
The contract says payable with my life if necessary. That's what we do. We're not just putting a badge on and going to work. You know, we're human beings. We have emotions. And our job is, every one of you, to make sure you're okay.
705, we got the passenger out of the truck. He's completely engulfed.
That was Fox 10's Kenzie Beach reporting. Both first responders are Marine veterans who say it is part of their jobs to risk their lives to save others. Well, a trial began today in Southern California for Orange County Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Ferguson, who's accused of shooting and killing his wife. Today, prosecutors said Ferguson had been drinking and arguing with his wife Cheryl on August 3rd of 2023 before they say he pulled a loaded gun from his ankle holster and shot her. Ferguson can be heard saying, quote, "I killed her," and quote, "I did it," in a police recording. However, he has pleaded not guilty, and his lawyer says the shooting was an accident. Rapper A$AP Rocky expressing relief and joy over his not guilty verdict on assault charges. He dove into the gallery there to hug his lawyers and his longtime partner Rihanna after the jury acquitted him in Los Angeles yesterday. This comes as he's reaching a pinnacle in his career. He'll headline the Rolling Loud Music Festival in Los Angeles next month. In May, he'll serve as celebrity co-chair of the Met Gala in New York. And then this summer, he will appear alongside Denzel Washington in Spike Lee's latest film.
One of the reasons he turned down that plea deal, as sweet as it sounded, is because he felt like any admittance of guilt would really have a profound effect on his career. He said, "I want to be able to tour. I want to be able to act as a brand ambassador. I want to be big in fashion."
Rocky and Rihanna have 2 young children together. If convicted, he could have faced up to 24 years in prison. Well, a bill working its way through Utah's state legislature is designed to protect children involved in social media content. Fox 13's Ben Winslow shows us how the ex-husband of convicted abuser and former influencer Ruby Franke is getting behind this effort.
These statements went through the process of approval in the juvenile court.
Kevin Franke read letters from his children addressed to the House Business and Labor Committee in support of House Bill 322. He's the ex-husband of Ruby Franke, a mommy vlogger convicted in a horrific case of child abuse in southern Utah.
When I started getting older, I realized the YouTube channel had ruined my childhood. But at least I got some money, right? Oh, right. I actually didn't, because my mom withdrew all of it in 2023.
Representative Doug Owens' bill is in response to a few incidents involving children who've been used in online content. It requires money be set aside for children in a trust that parents can't touch.
This is only triggered if the parents or the content creators clearing $150,000 a year. So it's not trying to get at somebody who's trying to start up a business, and the kid needs to be earning over $20,000 a year.
It also gives those children a right to ask a social media platform to take down the content when they turn 18. That's something Kevin Franke says his daughter Julie wanted to see.
Really, you're selling your life, your privacy, your body, and stories to the entire world. And as a child, you're involuntarily giving up all of that.
The bill has changed a little as Utah-based social media influencers have pushed back on it.
Where this bill started, it would have been absolutely devastating to those content creators out there.
They even hired their own Capitol Hill lobbyist.
This is now in a place where at least content creators can operationalize it, that they can work with it.
The bill passed unanimously. Kevin Franke says it's a start.
We need to start looking seriously at the emotional and psychological well-being of these children, not just their financial.
Does this bill take into account that?
I think it's a first step.
The bill now heads to the full House of Representatives for consideration. On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
A new sign of turmoil in the EV market as Arizona-based Nikola goes bankrupt. Coming up, what industry experts think this means for the future of the auto industry and jobs in the Phoenix Valley. Plus, it's a new take on art. See what's inspiring creators in the West. Apple unveiled a new, slightly more affordable version of the iPhone. The iPhone 16e will have most of the features of the more expensive iPhone 16 and 16 Pro models, including a custom camera system, a more powerful computer chip, and the ability to power Apple Intelligence. Prices for this new phone start at $600. Apple says it will be available in stores by the end of the month. Arizona-based EV maker Nikola is going bust. Fox 10's Steve Nielsen spoke to industry experts about today's Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing and what it means for the overall EV market.
When Nikola decided to call Arizona home for their headquarters, there was a lot of excitement that means that other companies might move here as well. Now, they're just the latest to declare bankruptcy.
Nearly 3 years ago, Nikola's first electric 18-wheeler was revealed to applause in Coolidge, Arizona.
Are you finding there's a demand for this?
For our trucks?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now today, Chapter 11 bankruptcy for a company that ran into multiple problems since its start. The company's founder, Trevor Milton, was convicted of fraud in 2023 for exaggerating claims about the vehicle's performance. Then in 2023, multiple vehicles caught fire at their Phoenix facility. In a statement, the company said they plan to attempt to sell all of their assets and wind down business, saying, "In recent months, we've taken numerous actions to raise capital, reduce our liabilities, clean up our balance sheet, and preserve cash to sustain our operations. Unfortunately, our very best efforts have not been enough to overcome these significant challenges."
I feel like this was almost inevitability.
Industry analyst Carl Brower with iCars.com says the issue was demand.
There just doesn't seem to be a lot of good use for electric powertrains in long distance, large truck hauling.
But they're just one domino in Arizona's EV industry that has fallen. Then Governor Doug Ducey spoke about all of the Arizona companies at Nikola's launch party.
Nikola joins companies such as Lucid, Electromechanica, Atlas Vehicles, and Zero Electric Vehicles to earn the moniker Made in Arizona.
But let's dive into that. Zero liquidated assets. Electromechanica and Mesa is now empty. Their solo vehicles we test drove,
Let's rev this thing. Let's see what it can do.
were recalled and bought back. Atlas became new and is looking to merge with a California bioplastics company. Only one of those companies is making vehicles, Lucid.
Everybody put your heads against the headdress. Go for it.
They just posted their best quarter and have a new SUV. Brower believes, though, lean times are ahead for the whole industry.
The environment for electric vehicles, especially in the U.S., isn't going to be better over the next couple of years. It's going to be worse. There's going to be less government help promoting these brands and these companies.
We've just received word late this afternoon the total number of layoffs because of this. In Coolidge, Nikola's laid off more than 300 people, and in Phoenix here, more than 500. Steve Nielsen, Fox 10 News.
An LA-based artist is capturing the world, giving a bird's eye view. Don Nelson flies around the world looking for scenes that elicit emotion and shares what he sees with his large, immersive pictures. His latest exhibit, The Space Between, is set to go up at the Axiom Gallery in Phoenix soon, with works titled Xylophones 5, Cassette Deck, and Book on Sale. Take a look here. On closer inspection, the viewer may realize that these are actually trucks, containers, areas that we often tend to overlook, all of it captured from a bird's eye view. Delson says these things can take on a new identity when viewed from above.
I realized when I was shooting over the ports recently that there's more to it than just the containers and the color of the containers. What I started to realize is that what's even more important is the space between.
Beauty in the eye of the beholder. The space will be on display through Saturday, March 15th. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. You can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online. Just go to westcoastwrap.com and you can stream all of our shows by downloading our Fox Local app. Good night.